They say true beauty always demands a sacrifice, a surrender to the unknown forces that shape the earth. The wind here does not merely blow. It carries the voices of ancestors who walked these shores before maps were drawn. Beneath deceptive tides lies a raw drama. For nature is both a benevolent creator and a ruthless destroyer. What drives the spirit to seek these jagged edges, where the veil between the physical and the ethereal feels terrifyingly thin? This is no simple journey, but an odyssey where time folds in upon itself. A spectral whisper brushes against the skin, promising ancient secrets to those brave enough to listen. We call it paradise, yet it is laced with peril, where myths are warnings etched into the bedrock. Here, the soul finds its rhythm within the eternal heartbeat of the deep. Beneath the endless blue, a million silver hearts beat as one, a synchronized dance defying the chaos above. They say these shimmering clouds are not merely creatures, but the fragmented souls of ancient mariners finding eternal rest. Long before ships pierced the horizon, this island was a kingdom of rajas and spirits. The winds still carry the scent of iron, a memory of the day destiny collided with steel. "5 centuries ago, strangers in metal skins arrived, believing they could tame the tides and the will of the islanders. But a warrior rose, his name carved into history, wielding a blade that flashed against the invaders' arrogance. The clash was a storm where the pride of an empire shattered against the unyielding spirit of freedom. Perhaps the swirling vortex is a tribute to that ancient valor, a living shield guarding secrets buried in coral catacombs. Legend suggests the ocean demands a balance. For every drop of blood spilled, a life was gifted back, transforming into these endless guardians. Their movement is the breath of the ocean, a hypnotic rhythm of absolute wonder. Venture inland, and the roar of the tide fades, replaced by thundering chants of waters hidden in ravines. Elders speak of spirits dwelling behind veils of falling water, watching over pools where time stands still. Here, the air holds the weight of creation, a twilight realm where the boundary between worlds thins. It is said a small wooden god survived the ashes of a burning village to become the silent watcher of the island's destiny. This place is a living paradox, where past violence has birthed a beauty so profound it aches. The water remembers everything, holding memories of battles and miracles. When living clouds darken the deep, the sea invites the spirit to enter a dream from which one may never wish to wake. This is a realm where boundaries dissolve, and great limestone pillars rise from the sea like petrified titans. It is told that these pillars were once giants, who fought a war so terrible that the gods turned them to stone to end the bloodshed. Beneath the surface, secrets of a prehistoric world lie dormant, waiting for a voice to sing them awake. Millennia ago, wanderers arrived, carrying sacred jars to house the souls of their dead. They believed the water was a bridge to the afterlife, a shimmering path the spirit must travel to find eternal peace. Later legends speak of Chinese merchants in fragile junks, trading silk with the fierce warriors of these islands. Many ships were swallowed by sudden storms, summoned by the jealous spirits of the deep. The ocean floor is now a museum of tragedy, where human ambition is reclaimed by the relentless growth of coral. In the caves above, ancient men painted their dreams in pigments of blood and sap. If you listen to the wind, you may hear the chanting of shamans seeking to appease the forest's guardians. Nature here is a living entity, watching every intruder with 1,000 hidden eyes. In recent history, the horizon burned with global conflict, and steel leviathans clashed in the bays. Now, those iron beasts sleep in the crushing depths, serving as ghostly monuments to the folly of war. Time has softened the wreckage, draping it in marine life and turning graves into gardens. The indigenous people say the hidden lakes are the tears of a grieving deity, locked away to preserve their purity. To swim there is to trespass in a holy place, where the water is heavy with forgotten prayers. Here, the past sinks into the bedrock, becoming the foundation upon which the present stands. The dawn mist is the breath of ancestors, reminding us that we are but fleeting shadows in a timeless landscape. The air within this emerald abyss vibrates with a power that predates the footsteps of man, heavy with the weight of ancient enchantments. Legends speak of Maria and Christina, sisters inseparable as the moon and tide, until a warrior with eyes like the storm-tossed sea severed their bond. Unable to bear the agony of a divided soul, they leaped into the precipice, merging their spirits with the eternal flow. Now the waters crash in twin columns of fury, a relentless testament to a passion too vast for the mortal coil to contain. Yet the jungle conceals darker secrets within its verdant folds, stories whispered only when the firelight dims. It is told that a vain queen was once cursed to bear a child so unlovely that she was hidden away in the earth's deepest recesses. Named Tinag, the child wept in solitude, her tears forming a hidden basin of such unearthly blue that it mocks the sky itself. This water hides behind massive curtains of rock, guarding its sorrowful beauty from the judgment of the surface world. Centuries ago, when ironclad conquistadors sought to claim these lands, the jungle proved a warrior more fearsome than any army. Mists rose to blind them, and the roar of the cataracts swallowed entire battalions into green oblivion. The indigenous spirits wove the very roots into traps, preserving the sanctity of their home against the greedy. Elders claim the thunderous sound is not water hitting stone, but the war drums of ancestors beating an eternal rhythm of resistance. To stand amidst this raw power is to realize how fleeting human empires are compared to the river's patient persistence. The currents carry the voices of the forgotten, murmuring stories of love and war that no history book has ever recorded. Here, the boundary between the physical and the spiritual dissolves into a fine mist, inviting the soul to surrender to the timeless drift of the ages. High within the remote Cordilleras, the earth has been sculpted into a colossal stairway seeking to touch the face of the divine. Legends speak of 2 millennia past, when ancestors arrived not for conquest, but driven by a desperate need for sanctuary. The mountains were wild then, guarded by spirits whispering secrets to the clouds, resentful of human intrusion. Yet with bare hands, a civilization carved a monument to resilience that rivals the pyramids in grandeur. It is told every stone was passed hand to hand, in a living chain stretching for miles, defying physical exhaustion. The soil is mixed with the sweat and blood of generations, binding the terraces with a mortar stronger than stone. These steps rise like a silent prayer, a testament to the harmony between human ambition and nature's immutable laws. Here, the Ifugao carve the bulul, wooden guardians holding ancestral souls to protect the harvest. Elders claim under the harvest moon, these statues wake, walking narrow edges to chase away malevolent spirits. The genius lies in the water, harnessed from rainforests to feed the valleys through an ancient, intricate web. Myth dictates water spirits share their flow only so long as the people remember sacred rites of gratitude. Should the chanting stop, the springs might dry, leaving the terraces to crumble into dust. Long ago, tribes fought fierce battles, believing a warrior's strength contributed directly to the rice's vitality. Red clay beneath the water remembers old feuds, holding memories of those who died to keep these walls standing. It is said, if stacked end to end, these terraces would circle half the globe, a distance measured in infinite patience. A defiant assertion that humanity can exist within the wild without destroying it. Yet the wind carries a warning. Nature is patient, always waiting to pull the stones back into the jungle's embrace. They refuse to bow to the slopes, building a ladder to the gods to invite the heavens down to earth. Here, the boundary between the mortal realm and the spirit world dissolves into the mist. Titanic walls of karst limestone rise vertically from the abyssal blue, standing as silent sentinels over a graveyard hidden beneath the waves. It was here that a grand imperial fleet sought to hide from the wrath of the skies, only to find their sanctuary turned into a tomb by the thunder of war. The air still feels heavy with echoes of that fateful day. And though nature has draped the sunken husks in coral, the iron skeletons remain bound by duty. Legends persist that the crews of those doomed vessels never truly left their posts, trapped in a perpetual loop of service beneath the sea. In the murky depths of the cargo holds, divers speak of shadows that move against the current, and the uncanny sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. The Twin Lagoon offers a mystical barrier where warm water meets cold, creating a shimmering haze that distorts reality like a dream. Indigenous elders recount tales of spirits who dwell in these mixing waters, luring the curious into labyrinthine caves from which there is no return. It is said that if you listen closely to the lapping waves, you can hear the low, mournful groans of the ships settling deeper into the silt. High above, the sacred lakes sit like emerald jewels, protected by razor-sharp ridges that defy the intrusion of the outside world. The Tagbanua people tell of a giant octopus that guards these ancestral waters, a mythical beast that demands silence and respect from all who enter. To speak too loudly here is to invite the wrath of the guardians, for history is not a dusty record, but a living presence drifting like smoke. This is a realm where the sublime beauty of the surface betrays the haunting darkness that lies just a few fathoms below. Every rust-caked portal is a weeping eye, staring into the eternal gloom, guarding the imperial mysteries of a fallen empire. Here lies a paradox of nature, where a calm lake cradles a sleeping beast, hiding a heart of fire beneath a mask of serene blue. Long before modern maps were drawn, elders spoke of Lakan Taal, a chieftain who guarded the mountain when it stood as a towering bridge to the abode of the gods. But when the people sought to claim the mountain's treasures, the ground shook with the fury of betrayed spirits, collapsing the peak into the gaping maw of the caldera. Through the mists of time, the volcano remains a sentinel of destruction, its history written in layers of hardened lava and the tears of the displaced. In the great eruption of 1911, the sky turned black at noon, and the heavens rained mud upon towns that dared to inch too close to the dragon's lair. Old churches were buried under a shroud of gray, their ruins existing now only as ghosts beneath the shifting soil, preserved in a tomb of volcanic glass. This is a landscape of concentric circles, an island within a lake, within an island, within a lake. A geometric riddle designed to humble our understanding of geography. The water changes color, shifting from emerald to turquoise, a chemical warning from the alchemists of the underworld stirring their deadly potions. Spanish friars once attempted to exorcise the crater with crosses, but the mountain obeys no master, bowing only to the ancient laws of pressure and time. Every tremor felt underfoot is a heartbeat, a heavy reminder that the silence is merely a pause in an eternal conversation between the magma and the crust. It is a tragic romance between the people and the land. They flee the roar, yet always return, drawn by the fertile soil and the haunting beauty of the danger. Legends whisper that one day, the lake will boil away to reveal a lost city of gold, swallowed to punish the greed of ancient kings. Until then, Taal remains a majestic enigma, a terrifying beauty holding the fate of millions in its unpredictable, fiery hands. Here, the earth stretches desperately to embrace the infinite sea, a landscape defined by its sorrowful vastness. Legend claims the twin bays were born of two celestial beings, cast down for a love that outshone the stars. Transformed into land and water, they remain forever touching, yet eternally separated by the cruelty of the tides. The silence is a heavy tapestry, woven from the sighs of the wind and the rhythmic crash of waves. In dark days, when black sails prowled these archipelagos, this coast was a sanctuary of terror. Villagers vanished into the green abyss, leaving their homes to the mercy of ruthless raiders. Spirits of ancient traders, laden with porcelain and gold, wander the coastline on moonless nights. They seek treasures buried in panic, wealth long since digested by the shifting sands. Later, these waters became a graveyard for steel leviathans, swallowing the burning machines of men. Beneath the surface, the metallic groans of history sing a requiem for the fallen. It is a place of duality, where beauty masks a history written in survival and loss. Fisherfolk speak of the sirens, ethereal voices luring the lonely when twilight turns the water to glass. These are not demons, but the gathered souls of those who died waiting for ships that never returned. Spanish conquistadors found a paradise here that concealed a purgatory of fever. The land fought back with heat and shadow, ensuring no flag could truly claim dominion. Every grain of sand testifies to the erosion of empires, grinding the ambitions of kings to dust. The sea demands a tribute, paid in the solitude of those who walk these shores alone. It is an ancient pact, reminding us that we are merely guests in a kingdom ruled by tide and time. The shores of Samal deceive with blinding radiance, promising the sweet embrace of eternal summer. Yet beneath the surface and within mangrove depths, shadows from a forgotten era linger, waiting to be heard. Centuries ago, these labyrinths were desperate sanctuaries for those seeking to vanish from the world of men. The silence is heavy, bearing the weight of unseen eyes watching from the wilderness. Dreaded sea raiders once steered through these treacherous channels to escape pursuing armadas. They buried ill-gotten gold deep within the earth, binding the loot with blood curses the soil refuses to yield. The wind carries the faint echo of boisterous laughter and the sharp clatter of steel against steel. Legend speaks of a ruthless captain who sacrificed his crew to guard his hoard, leaving restless spirits to patrol the shoreline. But pirates were merely trespassers in a land claimed by forces far older than human greed. Ancestors knew this island was a living entity, breathing through tides and dreaming in absolute darkness. In hushed caves, ancient warriors sleep in ceramic jars, protected by spirits dwelling in sacred balete trees. To disturb these groves is to invite misfortune that clings to the soul like damp mist, a chill no sun can warm. The land plays tricks on the mind, a phantom paradise appearing and disappearing with the whims of the tide. Fishermen tell of ethereal lights on moonless nights, guiding lost sailors to a realm of no return. These are souls who sought treasure, but found only the cold, unforgiving embrace of the depths. Nature reclaims the ruins of ambition with terrifying beauty. wrapping stone and bone in oblivion. The earth endures while empires crumble. Time here circles like a whirlpool, trapping the past alongside the present in a dizzying dance of memory. Listen to the waves, for they recite the names of forgotten kings who thought they could conquer this mystic isle. Samal remains a majestic riddle, where the line between the living and the spirit world is as thin as twilight. These limestone sentinels stand as eternal monuments to a sacrifice made before history began, rising like fractured memories of a lost world. The wind here does not merely blow, it mourns, carrying the sighs of 123 warriors who vanished, their souls trapped within the rock. Elders speak of a time when this calm gulf was a theater of war, where a Raja ruled a kingdom of peace threatened by a pirate fleet. To protect his people, the Raja summoned his finest soldiers, men who pledged to hold the line against the invaders or perish. It was a desperate gamble, where flesh and bone were pitted against steel, turning the waters into a crimson tide of sorrow. When the smoke cleared, the defenders were gone, replaced by mounds rising from the depths, as if the earth had risen to honor their stand. The gods, moved by such devotion, immortalized the warriors, turning their bodies into stone islands to guard the coast against returning evil. Some believe the caves in these islets are the open mouths of those ancient soldiers, still shouting silent war cries against an enemy long turned to dust. Another tale whispers of a giantess who wept for her lost love, her teardrops petrifying upon contact with the ocean to form this archipelago of grief. Yet the warrior legend holds the soul, suggesting that beneath the vegetation lies the beating heart of a dormant army, waiting to rise again. One feels a sense of drifting through a graveyard of giants here, where tombstones are covered in life and surrounded by the indifferent sea. The sheer number is overwhelming. A chaotic fleet of stone ships permanently anchored in a sea that remembers everything, but forgives nothing. Nature is both creator and destroyer, slowly eating away at the monuments she built, reminding us that even the bravest legends eventually fade. This is a sanctuary for the memory of courage, a place where the boundary between the mythic past and the present is blurred by the tide. If you listen closely to the water, you might hear the rhythm of a heartbeat, ancient and slow, pulsing through the limestone vaults of these 100 isles. Long before maps tethered it to reality, conquistadors branded this realm the Island of Fire, earned from the luminescence of fireflies swarming ancient malave trees. Sailors whispered these were not insects, but ancestor souls, patrolling where the veil between worlds is perilously thin. It exists in suspended enchantment, a paradise both inviting and forbidden. When galleons first approached, crewmen crossed themselves, sensing a primordial power predating their Bibles and steel. They spoke of shadows moving independently, and chants on the wind capable of mending a bone or stealing a heart. Deep in the mountains, the line between medicine and magic dissolves in the hands of healers, custodians of forgotten lore. Tales abound of sorcerers inflicting pain with a glance, balancing cosmic scales against those purging sickness with smoke. There is profound beauty in this duality, where jungles conceal ingredients for both the miraculous cure and the withering curse. Legend tells of a tree older than memory, a cathedral for nature spirits demanding reverence. Listen closely to the rustling leaves, and you may hear the laughter of unseen folk and the heavy sighs of guardians waiting for the moon. The waters are deceptive, masking fierce currents of myth that swirl like a cauldron of old gods. At the cliffs, ancient fishermen offered trembling prayers to the deep. The sea is possessive, a liquid memory, reminding those who enter that they are merely guests in a kingdom of salt and spirits. It is said the island rose from the ocean womb amidst thunder to serve as a refuge for the misunderstood. Potion makers walk the razor's edge between fate and desire, stirring elixirs of roots and secrets gathered under the full moon. The air hangs heavy with unspoken prayers, a testament to a culture refusing to forget its roots. Generations fade, yet the island holds fast to rituals that keep darkness at bay. Fear has transmuted into fascination, yet the true magic lies in timeless resilience. As the sun dips, fireflies return to their vigil. In the silence, the island breathes, and if you are still enough, you will understand why it was never truly conquered. Here, the ocean does not merely touch the land. It embraces the jagged limestone in a lover's clinch that has endured for millions of years. Long before modern keels cut these emerald waters, the Banaue people believed these towering cliffs were the petrified bodies of giants who dared to war against the gods. In the shadows of these stone sentinels, silence is a heavy, tangible thing, broken only by the swiftlets darting into fissures to build the nests that gave this place its Spanish name. It was for these birds that men once gambled their lives, scaling razor-sharp walls without ropes to harvest white gold from the dragon's jaw. Baquet Bay is not a place you visit, but a labyrinth where maps fail and you surrender your sense of time to the ancient rhythms of the tide. Legends speak of a Spanish galleon, heavy with stolen silver, that sought refuge in these confusing corridors during a storm, only to vanish entirely from the pages of history. Hidden portals reveal themselves only when the moon pulls the ocean back, unveiling lagoons that open like the unblinking eye of the earth. There is a myth of a siren who sings not with a voice, but through the wind whistling in the hollow karst, luring explorers deeper until they forget the way home. Beneath the surface, the spirits of lost sailors are rumored to guide the currents, ensuring that the archipelago's secrets remain hidden from the greed of empires. Elders claim the limestone absorbs the memories of all who pass, storing echoes of laughter and fear within the geological strata, like a library of ghosts. It is a paradise armed with thorns, where sharp rocks known as api-api stand ready to cut those who do not tread with reverence. Beware the beauty that surrounds you, for the locals warn that if you fall too deeply in love with the lagoon, a part of your soul will remain here forever, trapped in the emerald depths. Rising like a fortress of titans, this island stands as a monument to the Earth's inner fire. Chronicles whisper, 7 volcanoes conspired to birth this land, piling molten rock until the sea bowed in submission. Beneath deceiving tranquility, the ground remains restless, breathing heat that has simmered since time's dawn. Haunting beauty lingers where ancient eruptions ground mountains to dust, drinking sunlight to pave the world's edge. Centuries ago, the old Vulcan broke silence, unleashing fury that redrew the geography of the living and dead. The earth cracked like the world's spine snapping, dragging the town violently into the waiting abyss. Where a cemetery once offered rest, ocean currents now caress stones, forming a necropolis of coral and bone. Legend says souls refused to leave. When the land sank, they bound themselves to reefs to guard watery graves. Amidst sunken ruins, one feels a cold draft, the spectral sigh of a congregation unable to reach the surface. A solitary sentinel watches the drowned past, a reminder that nature eventually reclaims all she gives. Wind howling through volcanic crags carries mourning cries of those who lost homes to fire and ash. Yet destruction births energy. Hot springs bubble with the earth's blood, offering healing to those brave enough to trust the heat. The contrast between the cold, sunken graveyard and scalding springs creates a paradox defining this place's soul. These waters are tears of a fire god regretting his anger, weeping boiling streams to soothe the land's scars. Treading here requires a humble heart, for every step is upon a sleeping giant that could wake to reclaim dominion. To exist here is to understand we are transient shadows, flickering briefly against the majesty of deep earth. Ancestral spirits do not drift away. They merge with mist, becoming guardians of a paradise born from catastrophe. Listen to silence following the waves. For there, the island reveals its true name, spoken only in fire and water. In the archipelago's heart, 1,000 sentinels rise from the earth, mysterious and uniform, as if sculpted by a colossal hand. These are not mere limestone formations, but fossilized remnants of a grief so profound it altered the land itself. The elders speak of Arago, a giant strong enough to shape mountains, yet helpless against the fragility of a mortal heart. He fell deeply in love with Aloya, a human whose life flickered as briefly as a candle flame against his immortality. When time stole her away, Arago's anguish shattered the silence of the heavens. His titanic tears fell heavy upon the plains, hardening into the endless mounds that now dominate the horizon. As the dry season descends, the hills shift from vibrant green to the melancholy brown of mourning, mimicking the drying of a giant's tears. Yet the wind carries darker whispers, tales not of sorrow, but of cataclysmic fury. Two rival titans, blinded by a forgotten feud, once waged a war here that shook the world's foundations. For days without end, they hurled massive boulders and clumps of earth, tearing the ground apart to fuel their senseless rage. When exhaustion finally claimed them, they departed as friends, leaving behind a battlefield of scattered ammunition that time has softened into rolling hills. Whether born of a lover's tear or a warrior's stone, this landscape stands as a testament to forces larger than ourselves. Nature has draped a velvet cloak over these ancient dramas, hiding the sharp edges of history beneath grass and fern. As seasons turn, the hills reflect the fleeting nature of emotion, reminding us that even the fiercest battles and greatest loves eventually turn to silence. Here, in the shadow of the mounds, the breath of the giants still lingers, an eternal presence in a land of beautiful ruins. Here lies an island forged in the crucible of the Pacific, a verdant jewel born from the tear of a storm where the ocean sings its most terrifying lullaby. Legends speak of an ancient feud between the deity of the winds and the sovereign of the depths, a celestial war churning the waters into the liquid walls of Cloud 9. Listen to the thunderous roar. It is not merely water, but the furious screams of forgotten sea gods demanding tribute from the daring souls who trespass. The sheer power of nature manifests here, a relentless reminder that humanity is but a fleeting guest in a kingdom ruled by shifting tides. Elders whisper of rogue swells rising from the abyss to drag the arrogant down to coral palaces where drowned kings sleep. Beneath the surface, shadows dance in the currents, watching with ancient eyes as mortals attempt to tame the untamable beasts of the sea. Long before travelers arrived, fishermen offered trembling prayers to the tempest, fearing the ocean would swallow their islands in a fit of divine rage. The wind carries echoes of these old incantations, mixing with salt air to haunt the coastline with ghosts of those who never returned. Yet amidst this chaotic symphony, the Magpupunko rock pools exist as a sanctuary of profound silence and elemental reflection. When the tide recedes like a drawing breath, it reveals a secret world, a mirror held by the earth to catch the reflection of the wandering soul. Myth claims these pools formed when a giant wept for lost love, his tears turning to stone to trap the ocean in a melancholic embrace. Here, the water lies as polished glass, proving absolute peace can exist within the jaws of a storm, separated only by the rhythm of time. This land is a testament to resilience, carved by the very forces that seek to destroy it into a masterpiece of jagged rock. Every surfer who rides the crest enters a pact with destiny, challenging the monsters of the deep in a fleeting moment of glory. But the ocean always claims its due, eventually erasing footprints from the sand and stories from memory, leaving only the eternal sound of the surf. Here lies a shoreline of dust, fine as the crumbled bones of ancient stars, bearing the weight of 1,000,000 footsteps seeking salvation. Listen to the rhythm of the tides, and you might hear the island gasping, remembering when it nearly drowned in the deep waters of human desire. Long before the artificial glare, this land belonged to the Ati, guardians who danced with wind spirits and traded with the earth itself. Legend says this paradise was bartered for a golden hat and a basin of water, an eternal tragedy of selling the sacred for a fleeting shimmer. Centuries turned, and quiet custodians were replaced by a chaotic symphony of travelers who consumed beauty until only the husk of a dream remained. It became a kingdom of excess, masking the silent weeping of the reef as it crumbled beneath the weight of anchors and ignorance. Then came the Great Silence, a decree slamming the gates, banishing revelers, and leaving the island alone with its ghosts for 6 months. In solitude, nature stitched its wounds. Ancient life returned to nest on sands that had known only the stomp of drunken dancing. The wind reclaimed its voice, sweeping away greed, while spirits of the old world walked the perimeter, to inspect the damage of the modern age. Now the horizon pulses with a warning that beauty is not a resource to be mined, but a living entity to be respected. The surface is clean, yet the memory of filth lingers like a phantom limb, reminding us that paradise is fragile in the heavy hand of avarice. Legends call the island a sleeping giant that allowed itself to be poisoned, only to rise again, proving Earth outlasts empires of concrete. Every grain of sand is a philosopher, debating the merits of silence against the roar of the crowd, asking if we have truly learned to tread lightly. The ocean pulses with the anxiety of a survivor who knows the monster might return. This story is not a romance, but a thriller where the protagonist is the land itself, surviving the suffocating embrace of those who claimed to love it most. The air hangs thick here, a humid blanket wrapping a metropolis teeming with ghosts of unfinished lives. Once, this was the Pearl of the Orient, where galleons laden with silver traced the dangerous path between worlds. But beneath the veneer, cobblestones have drunk the blood of revolutionaries and the tears of the conquered. Legend says these fortifications were built to contain restless spirits perishing in subterranean dungeons. When the tide rises, water seeps into the lowest chambers, drowning memories of prisoners forgotten by the sun. Melancholy lingers in the architecture, a fading elegance from a time when empires believed their dominion eternal. A martyr walked his final steps here, words sharper than bullets, igniting a fire that consumed his captors. On his death's anniversary, the wind carries the faint scratch of a quill on paper, terrifying those who suppress the truth. During the Great War, paradise was lost in a storm of fire and steel that leveled cathedrals in a month of madness. Beneath new towers, remnants of the old world lie buried. Hiding secrets the earth refuses to yield. Nature is relentless, pushing green tendrils through concrete, reclaiming monuments of vanity with patience. Elders speak of a phantom carriage roaming midnight streets, carrying a governor who vanished without a trace. Listen to the silence, and you might hear the weeping of a lady in white, searching eternally for lost love. The river is a keeper of secrets, having swallowed betrayals and the unspoken dead for centuries. The water is dark, with the ink of rewritten histories and the ashes of burnt dreams. Despite the scars, the spirit remains unbroken, a testament to the endurance of life amidst decay. As the sun sets in crimson, the city whispers that nothing is truly gone, only waiting to be found. In the far eastern reaches where the Pacific Ocean asserts its dominance with untamed ferocity, lies a realm that defies the orderly maps of modern men. Caramoan is not merely a destination. It is a secret kept by the tides, a fortress of limestone where the modern world is stripped away. Long before ships appeared on the horizon, the indigenous Agta people whispered that the towering karsts were frozen ancestors, stone giants watching over their kin. The sheer verticality of the cliffs commands a reverence that borders on fear, their jagged silhouettes piercing the sky like the spears of a forgotten army. Folklore recounts the tragedy of the enchanted lagoon, where a solitary milkfish holds the spirit of a deity, and to harm it is to invite a storm that would drown the islands in sorrow. Nature here is a jealous guardian, wrapping its treasures in thorny vines and sharp coral, demanding a tribute of awe from those who wish to enter. Centuries ago, these labyrinthine waters served as a hideaway for raiders who vanished into the mist, leaving behind rumors of cursed gold and ships that sailed into the rock face. Isolation here is a physical weight, pressing down on the soul, forcing a confrontation with the primal self that civilization tries so hard to bury. It is said the wind carries the voices of the Encanto, nature spirits who assume beautiful forms to lure the lonely wanderer into a paradise that exists only outside of time. Legends speak of a great battle between the Sea King and the Mountain Lord, their conflict birthing these scattered islands as the debris of their divine war. To walk here is to trespass on holy ground, where the laws of man hold no sway, and the old gods still demand their due respect. The savage allure of Caramoan lies in its indifference to human presence. It was here long before us, and it will remain long after our footprints have faded. This is the edge of reality, a place of sublime beauty and terrifying power, locked in an eternal embrace. The silence of these ancient fortifications presses down with the weight of 1,000 forgotten years. The hollow wind whistles through the cracks, carrying fading echoes of orders shouted in languages long vanished from the tongues of men. Legend claims the architect was blinded upon completion, a cruel reward ensuring he could never replicate this masterpiece. A terrifying majesty emanates from these stones, defiant monuments to human will that survive long after the hands that hewed them have turned to dust. History casts long shadows, marking the doom of garrisons who watched invading fires illuminate the horizon like a second bloody sun. Beneath cold floors, secrets lie in eternal slumber, protecting memories of betrayals so profound they shook the very foundations of the earth. The air is thick with spirits, a tangible energy reminding us that we are merely fleeting guests in their eternal home. Tales are told of a pale lady wandering the ramparts, weeping for a lover lost in a siege that lasted 10 agonizing years. Nature slowly reclaims this fortress, wrapping the masonry in a suffocating embrace that speaks of the inevitable victory of time over stone. In great halls where feasts once roared, only silence reigns now, performing for an audience of ghosts. One feels a profound insignificance, realizing that entire dynasties rose and fell while these walls barely aged a day. The darkness is a living presence, guarding mysteries that history failed to record. They say that in the final battle, defenders fought with such ferocity that the river below ran red for a week. Reverence remains for the resilience of those who endured the harshest winters and cruelest wars within this stone shell. The saga of this place is written in blood and mortar, a dark fairy tale where the monsters were real and the heroes often forgotten. The wind sighs, relieved to return to its solitary vigil over memories that belong only to the silence. The fortress remains, a timeless sentinel staring into the void, waiting for the centuries to roll on.